Oh my gosh. I am absolutely speechless from what I just saw today. We saw some of the craziest Champions League qualification fixtures I've ever seen in my life. We saw two of some of the craziest comebacks I've seen in recent years. And we saw Bodø Glimt absolutely smoke Nijmegen. Guys, I'm gonna be honest. If you guys don't know, we have been going live for all of these Champions League qualification fixtures, and they have not disappointed. Each one of these games was insane in their own respective way, guys. I'm gonna start off with Sabah FK against Hapoel Beer Sheva. Beer Sheva won in the first leg game 2-1. They were the better team. Sabah FK, in my opinion, were a little bit disappointing. And coming into this game, I did think Sabah FK, with the home advantage, obviously being played in Azerbaijan, that they would be able to get a draw from this game. I thought they would be able to get a result, maybe even win, but I didn't think they were going to go through. 5-2, mind you, after Hapoel Beer Sheva scored the first goal. They were up 3-1 in aggregate, and 115 minutes later, they're down 6-4 on aggregate with 2 red cards. Guys, this was one of the craziest games I've ever seen in my life. And Sabah FK, in the first leg game, I thought being the more disappointing team, to now having the home advantage and performing like this, 33 total shots, 12 on target, 54% possession, over 3.5 expected goals. Guys, this is what the home advantage can do to some of these teams in the Champions League. It's insane what the home advantage can do, guys. That last minute winner by Mutaliov to bring them to extra time was absolutely insane. And then in extra time, to score 2 goals just to completely kill Hapoel Beer Sheva. Beer Sheva getting the 2 red cards, which definitely did kill them. But at the end of the day, even if they didn't get the red cards, I still think they probably would have lost this game, to be honest. I just didn't think they looked good enough. I thought Sabah FK with the home advantage were incredible. Like I said, this goal was insane, absolutely insane, to give them the lead. And then the final goal to give them 3-2, I think it was, advantage to go into extra time. I'm absolutely speechless from this game. But this game was not even the craziest game of the day. Then we move on to Bodø Glimt 3-0 against NEC Nijmegen. And guys, when we were doing the stream, we had a long conversation of how to pronounce Bodø Glimt, and it is pronounced Bodø Glimt, not Bodo Glimt, not Bodø Glimt, Bodø Glimt. But guys, a very good win by them, 3-0. They won 6-1 on aggregate, and this was another crazy game, mainly due to the fact that Nijmegen's goalkeeper got a red card in the 3rd minute, bro, and they were a man down. I don't know what he's doing, comes way out of his box. The Bodø Glimt attacker just touches the ball. He gets to the ball before the goalkeeper does, taps the ball lightly with his foot, and it hits the goalkeeper's arm. Instant red card. He's out of the box. He is sent off. Now, I will say the substitute goalkeeper was actually pretty good. I thought Polster actually made a lot of good saves and was pretty surprising. But at the end of the day, being a man down, having to take off your striker, it was never going to be a good game for Nijmegen, guys. And at the end of the day, Bodø Glimt, I feel like they weren't particularly good. Like, I felt like for that first half, yes, they dominated. And to be honest, they dominated the whole game. But even in that first half, 76% possession. They had all the ball, a lot of shots. But the Nijmegen goalkeeper was making good saves until those 2 goals right before halftime in the 47th minute and the 51st minute, guys. They were very good goals. And Bodø Glimt is now 2-0 up at halftime, 5-1 up on aggregate. And coming to the second half, to be honest, this game was pretty much done. Once again, it was pretty dominant by Bodø Glimt. Nijmegen at least had a few shots. They had a couple chances, but Bodø Glimt scored the 3rd goal, winning 3-0. And now they are back in the Champions League, guys. Bodø Glimt is back. The team who surprised everyone last season. The team who beat teams like Man City. They beat Atletico Madrid. They beat Inter Milan twice. I think they also got a draw against Tottenham. Guys, Bodø Glimt are a very, very good team, and I'm so excited that they're back in the Champions League. If they would have lost, to be honest, it would have been incredible for Nijmegen, but I'm a person that has kind of grown some love for Bodø Glimt in the last few years, seeing them in these UEFA competitions and how everyone always underrates them, but they always seem to perform. Now, one thing I will say with Bodø Glimt is that I do feel like their loss of Kasper Høeg was a pretty big loss, and I feel like even in games like this, a player like Helmerson, I don't feel like he has the same presence as a player like Høeg did last season and the year before. They still have some very good players around him. Haug, Bloomberg, I think are very good. They still have the likes of Berg, Auckland in the midfield. So they have good players, but I do feel like that loss of Kasper Høeg was definitely gonna be noticed this season as they don't have that top tier striker anymore. So I do think that is a little bit of a loss, but at the end of the day, great performances by Bodo Glimt and pretty much exactly what I expected. And I do think they will once again reach the knockout stages in the Champions League. Guys, I'm so excited they're back in the UCL. But the last game we had, and this is the biggest talking point and was the craziest game, LASK 5-1 against Celtic. Celtic scored the first goal in the game in the 21st minute. At that point, Celtic are up 4-0 on aggregate. 4-0. LASK score 5 goals to win 5-4 on aggregate, and LASK advanced to the Champions League while Celtic are going to the Europa League. Guys, this is crazy. This was the craziest game of the day. I'm so happy we did a watch along, guys. Everyone was going mad because there's no way Celtic were up 4-0 on aggregate and they bottled it. They absolutely bottled it, and LASK have now made it to the Champions League. There is now going to be this Austrian team who won the Austrian Championship last season in the Champions League. And to be honest, they might have a surprisingly far run as well, guys. Honestly, this was a crazy game by LASK. And if you're a Celtic fan, I think coming to this game, yes, you were confident because you have the 3-0 win on aggregate. But even, guys, in the first leg, I don't think Celtic were that convincing even in the first leg. Like, yes, they had more possession, but if you look at the stats, LASK had 20 total shots. They dominated in terms of shots. They just weren't hitting the target. And, guys, a very similar situation happened in this game where if you look at the first half, LASK had so many shots, 15 total shots, and only one of them was on target. So once again, guys, we saw LASK not being able to convert their chances. But in the second half, once again, they had loads of shots, but they were actually converting the chances. And that's the only thing they needed. They were defending well. They were good at holding possession. They were getting the shots off. They were creating the chances, but they just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. But look what happened when they did, guys. Usor getting the goal, Lubicic getting a goal, Adeniran getting 2 goals, also missed a penalty later on in the game, but 2 goals. He was fantastic. And obviously Flecker getting the late goal for LASK, which obviously brought the game to extra time, which was absolutely insane, guys. But at the end of the day, I think Celtic just capitulated in this game. I think Celtic capitulated because I think going into this game, you're up 3-0. Just don't fuck up. Just play calm, play composed. You score the first goal, you're up 4-0. First of all, in the attack, they couldn't do shit. Defensively, they were all shit. And the midfield was ass. We saw McGregor pretty much give away a goal, the last goal. We saw Nijmegen give away the first goal. The midfield was horrible. Okay? And 3 of LASK's goals came directly from midfield errors, from losing the ball in the middle, from passing the ball right to the other team. So for how good LASK were, and their midfield I thought was incredible. I mentioned it in the stream. Bogard, Horvath, incredible in this game. The best players on the pitch. So for how good LASK were, they do deserve the win. But Celtic, at the end of the day, just completely capitulated. They shot themselves in the foot. They are what caused this loss because they were up 4-0. They could have just parked the bus. They could have just defended. And it seemed like they may have started doing that. But then after LASK kept getting chance after chance after chance, and Celtic's midfield was making mistake after mistake after mistake, they realized they couldn't do that anymore. And to be honest, after that, LASK just played them off the park. And they were the better team. And going into extra time, I thought maybe Celtic had a chance, guys. If we look at the momentum in the first half of the extra time, Celtic were pretty good. They were holding possession. They had a couple shots. But you still saw on the counterattack, when they would make a mistake, we saw LASK be threatening. And eventually, they were always going to score again. And they did score again, guys. 5-1. And in my opinion, this is probably the biggest capitulation, the biggest bottle I've ever seen. This is like top 5 biggest bottles I've ever seen. To be up 4-0 and to lose 5-1 in the remaining, whatever it is, 90 minutes after you're up 4-0. It's crazy, guys. It's absolutely insane. But Celtic do miss out on the Champions League, and LASK we're going to be seeing in the Champions League, which is crazy. But guys, I had to make this video because the Champions League games that we saw today were absolutely insane. I'm speechless. I'm speechless of what happened. But guys, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And as always, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video.